people don't see what's behind all those things. And that is guys that are working cameras, are working the soundboards. They're doing all these things to keep the church moving or going, or the program to continue. It's pretty cool how God deals with different people. You know, that's what I love about salvation, that we don't know where we came from, you know what I'm saying? And then how do we hear the gospel? How do we do this whole thing? And then Paul in Romans chapter 12, and then Corinthians and Ephesians, he gives us, there's 21 gifts that God gives to us.
And it's been just a good balance of just trying to, like, Lord, what do you want us to do? Because we don't want to be a church that's all showy, but yet we want to use God's technology. But technology has changed, and because it's changed, there's...
Yeah, let me ask you, though, you said something. It's changed. So how do you guys know it's changing?
For God to give it the visibility that the church needs, you need to have gifted people. That's what we're talking about today. But also a passion and a vision that comes from our senior pastor as to, this is what I would like, this is what I would want.
You know, they talk about the phones, they talk about computers, all that stuff. How is it that little boys can get into pornography?
It's so accessible. We know that the devil, he's out to get, to kill and destroy. And man, he's strategized to be on every single, you're talking these free video games.
So awesome the way God has worked over the years, you know. I mean, there was no technology. I mean, you think from the 20s to the 30s, 40s, 50s, and now here we're in the 2025. What's going to be in 2050? You know, the technology just keeps improving, you know. And I think that, you know, we have a responsibility, you know, what we put on the shows, what we do, the things we share. And it's been really awesome for me. It's a blessing to have you guys, you know, direct the shows, put out the gospel out there, not Raul Ries, the gospel out there, that people can give the glory to God. Hey, hi everybody. We're here at Straight Talk. We're going to be sharing with these two guys about their ministries and their lives. So we'll be right back. Hey, hi everybody. We're here at Straight Talk. We're going to be sharing with these two guys about their ministries and their lives. So we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. I have Nick with me. I have, what's your name?
Eddie.
Eddie.
My name's Eddie.
We have him in the studio. I want to ask you some things, Nick. Yeah. You know, how did you come to ministry and what your job is, your calling? Yeah. If you can share with us a little bit.
Yeah, so my name's Nick. I've been the worship leader here for about 4.5 years. And
4.5 already?
Yeah, wow. It's quick. But, I guess my story is that when I was 18 years old, I got saved. I had some musical talents, but I didn't really know what it meant, you know. And then when I got saved, God put a call on my life, and he told me to sing. And I didn't know what that meant.
You didn't go to school for singing or anything?
No, I didn't go to school at all. And God told me to sing, and I didn't know what that meant, you know. And so I got an acoustic guitar. I started to sing, and I would come to church here. That's where I got saved. Yeah. And when I was
we used to surf together.
That's right, with my dad. Yeah.
With your dad.
Yeah. And I would see people worship in the sanctuary, and people would be lifting their hands and their arms, and I didn't know what that meant. And they would say the love of God.
Did you play guitar before?
No.
Oh, wow.
I didn't play guitar.
So you learned guitar too?
I learned, yeah. So God put this desire, and I started to learn. And then I was going to go to the School of Worship down in Costa Mesa when Chuck was alive.
Yeah.
And I was planning to go. And I had the funds, I had the application, and then the Lord closed the door, and I didn't understand why.
Why do you think he closed it?
Well, because only a short time after, the worship leader that was here before me, he took me under his wing and he trained me.
Artie?
No, Sammy.
So Sammy.
Yeah, and Sammy trained me, and I learned personally how to lead worship with him.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that the Lord closed the door because he had another opportunity.
Yeah.
And then as I led worship for a few years, from like 2012 to 13 here, I'm sorry, 2014 or 15, there was a place in my life where felt like I was being torn, and I wanted to get married, but I needed to make money, and I didn't know what to do, and I went to Pastor Dale, and I said, Pastor Dale, this is where I'm at. I want to lead worship, but while I'm leading worship, I'm requesting a lot of time off of work so I can be here, and so I need the funds. I don't know what to do, and he said, I want you to pray for three things. He said, I want you to pray for peace at your current job. I want you to pray for a door to open up a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, so you can work and serve. Or I want you to pray for a door to open here. And you know what? I prayed, and he told me to read Romans 12, 1 and 2, and I read it every day, every morning, every night. I prayed, and the Lord started to open up the door for me to stay at my current job, which was In-N-Out at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so,
I forgot about that.
So
like my little grandson.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bjorn, yeah. So I was there, and I didn't know what that meant. Now, God, you told me to lead worship.
How long did you work at In-N-Out?
8 years total.
8 years
total. Yeah. Wow. And I was, God, why did you tell me to go to lead worship, and then to switch me over to a secular job? I didn't understand it. I really didn't understand. And people would come to that In-N-Out because it was close to the church.
Yeah, right.
And they would say, "Oh my gosh, I miss you singing, and you have a," and I didn't know how to answer them.
So they make you an idol, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I told them no idols. So then I'm there, and I was there for 4 years after I was there, and I became a manager, and I worked, and I struggled in my spirit because I knew. Back when I first got saved, God put a call in my life to sing. And then I questioned, why do you have me here?
Yeah.
Why am I not singing? Yeah. And I finally surrendered. I said, God, I don't know what you're going to do, but if I never sing again, if I never serve in ministry again, all I want is peace in my heart. Yeah. I just want peace. I just want to know that I have peace. And a month later, a friend asked me to play here, and then you asked me to be on staff.
That's pretty cool. And let me ask a question.
Yeah.
How many hamburgers did you eat in 8 years?
That's a good question. I did the math. It's probably over 1,500.
How many free hamburgers did you get?
Every day was free.
Every day, huh?
Not good. It's not good. If you're struggling with weight, don't work at it because they'll get you, man. It's good burgers, man. You can't say no. So yeah, so then when
you were not working with Rich, Rich already was dead?
I think so.
Yeah, so his brother was dead.
Right.
So Lindsay was there.
Lindsay. It is. Yeah, it's Lindsay. Yeah, yeah. So that's my testimony. And then when you asked me to be on staff, I understood that why God put me in a management position.
He prepared you.
He prepared me.
Wow.
And I would say the thing that I missed out at that time, I was so worried when I was working at In-N-Out. I was so stressed, and my heart wasn't right, my mind wasn't right. But I should have had peace in the wilderness, and I didn't, And that's what I would encourage anyone. If you're in a wilderness, you gotta have peace,
But that's a hard job.
Yeah, it was a hard job.
Yes, it was. I mean, you're moving pretty fast. You're doing this, doing that, and I know that they run a real tight shift,
Yes.
And so I think that God not only prepared you all the way, but He was really preparing for your future too.
That's right.
Like you lead worship here now, and you're getting together people, bringing together people, which it is better with instruments, all that. The people are watching, they're worshiping the Lord, completely, fully. So that's pretty neat.
Yes.
Now, how about you, Eddie? I mean, how did you know? Well, you worked in the bookstore, right?
Yeah, I started in the bookstore.
Yeah. So now, where did you come from?
Well, so I've been in the ministry now 4 years too. I started.
Wow.
I started. I think a few months after.
From working in the bookstore till now.
From starting the bookstore up until now, it's been Passion Week.
How did you come to the bookstore?
So my secular job back in the day, I was a manager in Nordstrom for 8 years. Wow. I also did Nordstrom 8 years. That's why me and Nick are so close.
Isn't that crazy?
We're like brothers.
Yeah, I know.
But I was working in Nordstrom, and you know what? Like it it was a good job. I started making good money, and I started going up in the company. I started getting promoted
in ranks.
So they idolized me. I'm just kidding.
I knew that.
I'm just
kidding.
I saw
the flowers.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it was. I thought that was it for me.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? There's nothing else for me. I just got to do my best here. I got to keep getting promoted, go up to corporate. And I didn't think I never thought I would ever leave Nordstrom. Because I loved it, and I was so good at it, and I idolized it. Yeah. You know, I was like the money's there. Eventually like some fame was coming in, and because they flew me to New York to this thing called Nordstrom Live, where a lot of the top managers would go to that got chosen to do that.
Preparing them.
Yeah. So it was going really good until it didn't. Until all of a sudden everything just started going wrong. Like my sins started catching up with me, and my mistakes started catching up with me, and just things started just going out of control. I was
you were drinking.
I was alcoholic.
You take drugs?
I was taking drugs.
What kind of drugs did you take?
So, I didn't really like the drugs. I didn't take too many, but one that I would go, I'll be honest, cocaine was in my life during that time because of the rush I would get.
You didn't get hooked to that, huh?
I didn't really get addicted to it. I was able to completely cut out alcohol and drugs a lot easier than for example my pornographic addiction. But once obviously the Lord has really just broken me free of all that.
Let me ask you something. Right there. Pornography, how long were you in pornography?
Since I was like 12 years old. My cousins.
Now how did you get caught up with that?
So I remember the first time I saw was when I was doing Taekwondo. My mom was taking me to Taekwondo classes, and there was this video store next to it.
Oh, next to it.
Yeah, and I went to this video store. I was trying to find like some cool movies that I wanted. I was like, I want to watch this Batman movie and this and that. And I went into this door that I didn't read any sign. It was just a door, and I opened it, and a bunch of pornographic VHS tapes were there. And I was like, what is this? Yeah. And it just exposed me to it. And I remember I just got drawn to it, and that curiosity came in, and then my cousins, started talking to me about, things like that. And then
they were in
school. Yeah, my cousins, absolutely. And then I just got so exposed to it that I started seeking. I needed it every day, and it was a lot. It was bad.
Like a drug.
Like drugs, yeah. It was a drug for me, and then it led me to my sexual moral lifestyle, especially going through Nordstrom and all that.
All the nice looking girls come in.
Yeah, exactly. And so it just exposed me to a lot of different things.
And you were in Orange County, so that's even...
Brea. Brea was Orange County. That was the last store I managed. It was in Brea. And a lot of those sins caught up to me. So my everything at work just started...
You reap what you sow.
Exactly. I started to sow what I was reaping. And that's when the Lord said, enough is enough. And I didn't even know it was the Lord at the time, but everything just was... I thought I was going to be at Nordstrom the rest of my life. Wow. And then things just weren't happening. I felt this unsteadiness in my heart of being there, and I began to resent it. I began to resent my managers. I began to resent the people. I began to resent my salespeople. I didn't want it. I want nothing to do with this anymore. A few of the people were coming against me, and so I was like, I can't do this anymore. And out of nowhere, I put in my 2 weeks.
So Lord was kind of pushing you to get your attention. Yeah. So when he got your attention, you guys could be open, your heart, your ears, and then say, okay, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah, and looking looking back now, I'm thinking that was all the Lord, because he pushed me out of there.
Yeah.
And I thank God that he did, because who knows where I'd be right now.
Right.
And compared to where I'm at now, it's just, I wouldn't trade what I'm doing now for the world.
So you came back, you came here.
So then I went into the insurance business. I'm thinking, look, okay, I got to make money, you know. So I got into the insurance business for a little bit, and I started making good money again. And I was like, okay, cool.
Spending more money.
And then COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, I lost the opportunity for the insurance company that I was going to work for, AAA. They closed the door, like, okay, we can't hire you now because of this whole COVID thing that's happening. I was like, what? So I was left without a job, nothing, for a few months. Wow. But I'll tell you this, those were the best few months of my life. Because
God was getting your attention.
God got my attention. And I remember I just surrendered during those months, like, Lord, I need you. And I got into his word. I found my old Bible, and I opened it, and I began reading. And I didn't even repent at that time. I was just reading. I was just reading. I was like, Lord, what? And then finally he led me to repent. And I repented, and I gave my life. I said, Lord, I'm all yours.
Because you went to church since you were little, right?
I grew up in this church. Since the children's ministry. I remember being checked into the children's ministry. And I remember me getting in arguments and fights with some of the kids in the class. It was just weird. I remember growing up in this church. My parents, they raised me Christian, but I gave my life to the Lord at 18, and then I got a job, and I started working, and I just backslid for 8 to 10 years because I didn't commit.
Right.
And so then the Lord began to show me, hey, I'm leading you and I'm guiding you. And I began to know who God is. And I began to learn to trust him, learn to just know his attributes.
To hear the Holy Spirit.
And I began to hear God speak. And so then the door opened for me once here, the first time. Stephen Cameron said, hey, we want to hire you on, you know, in the bookstore, because I started serving. When I was working with AAA, I was like, you know what, I'll just attend church. You know, I want to just know more of God. So I got back into church, and I met Stephen Cameron, and then he was in the bookstore. He was one of the assistant managers, and then he said, hey, we want to hire you on part-time. And I was like, no, I can't do that right now. Like I'm good where I'm at. I'm making good money, and I said no at first. And then I was like, you know what? But I'll serve. Every Sunday I will serve. I want to serve God. And I faithfully every Sunday would show up early to help with the customers, to help them unpackage things. And I just wanted to serve. And then the second time, Miriam was like, hey, I do want to offer you a job on staff here. And I was like, oh man, I got to really pray about this. The first time I was offered, I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, should I get in the ministry? Like, she's like, no, you got bills to pay. I was like, I know, but like, why is this door being open for me? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I got things to pay. And then the second time, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask my mom. I'm going to pray. I'm going to go to the Lord. And I did. And I said, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, I'm willing. I'm going to do it. But speak to me through my mom. Show me, like, you know, give her peace, that because she was helping me. You know, she was helping me during the time, because I went through, and the Lord really used her strongly in my life. So I was like, you know what, Lord, show me. And the Lord already put in my heart that I was gonna take. I was like, you know what? But whether she says no, I'm gonna listen to you, and I'm gonna do it. And then I was going to go talk to my mom. She was already on her way to see me, because I had a room in the garage, and I was coming out of the garage. She was coming in, and I was like, Mom. And she's like, I know. You're going to be in the ministry.
See how the Lord.
I know. And I was blown away. I was just so shook. I was like, okay, here we go. And that's when my time started. 4 years ago, the Lord showed me.
Isn't that amazing how God works in both of our lives? You know, both of you guys. It's like, here's Nick. You know, I mean, him and his dad, we go out surfing and stuff, you know, get to know each other. And then through that, I got to know his dad even better. And his dad retired. you know. And then with you, I never met you.
Yeah. I came out of the streets. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who anybody was. Yeah. But you guys grew up together.
Well, I remember meeting you. You were in the restroom.
Oh, yeah. Should we say that story?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're in the restroom. I'm hiding, right? Oh, no. And I'm hiding for him to come out. And so he comes to the bathroom. I jump out. And he yells and screams. And he cussed. Can you believe that? He cussed. He jumped up so high. He cussed. I go, now I met you.
Now I know who this guy truly is.
And then we got to know each other.
I thought I was getting fired. I was like, I can't believe I just cursed in front of Pastor Raul Ries.
It was on staff?
Yeah, I was new on staff.
He was just new. Yeah, it was funny. I mean, it happened so quick, you know, so cool. And my wife told me, hey, there's a guy in the bookstore that you need to go see and talk to him. He says, I think he'll be a real asset to the church here. You know, so I met you for the first time. Yeah. And then we started communicating.
We started talking.
And with him too, when I met him, we used to surf together.
Yeah.
You know, so in the water, you know, we met each other with his dad.
Yeah.
So we used to go I used to go every day.
Yeah.
And his dad.
Yeah.
We meet there. And then, you know, he come along. The Lord had a purpose for his life. Kind of similar with both of you guys.
Yeah.
You know, we never know. We never know how God's going to use our lives.
Right.
And I think that it's important for us, you know, as God's servants, you know, never to be jealous. Wait on the Lord. And as you wait on the Lord, to hear his voice and say, this is what I want you. When you hear that, you have peace.
Yeah.
Right. You have peace in your life. Right. And then, like I said this morning, you get to a place, okay, I'm doing this. How long have I been doing it? What's new? What do you want me to do now? You know, like from being a private to lance corporal to corporal to sergeant, all the way up.
Yeah.
You know, the ranks, you know. In the kingdom of God, there are no ranks.
Yeah.
You know, but the Lord anoints you, he anoints you, he anoints me, and then he gives you your call.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest thing. Because when I got my call, I didn't want to be a pastor. I didn't want to be a teacher. I wanted to be my kung fu instructor. You know, that's my life. Yeah. And so when I got called, the same thing happened. You know, God told me, you know, you're going to be called or you're not going to be called. You know, so I said, okay, I'll leave my kung fu and I'll do what you want me to do. And I didn't want to leave the kung fu, but I didn't realize that God was going to give me back my talent and my gift to use anywhere I went. Yeah. You know, and that's what happened to you guys. Yeah. Right. You know, the Lord bless you. My granddaughter met you. Yeah. How did she meet you in the bookstore?
Well, I mean, Passion Week actually was the first time when I first started in the ministry. It was during Passion Week, and I remember Stephen was showing me around and everything, and then I walked in the foyer, and they were at the table selling the Somebody Loves You clothes, and he introduced me. This is Melinda. This is her daughters, and it was Monet, the one that really caught my attention because of her eyes.
Yeah.
Her eyes just blew me away, and I was like, wow, like. I was like, yeah, but there's no way. I'm here to focus. I'm here to serve the Lord, and I just want to focus on that. So we didn't talk for like a whole year. Here, and we said hi to each other here and there. But she really caught my attention was Passion Week. And then a year later, the Lord began to open the door as I began to pray and talk to her.
And then you ended up as husband and wife.
And then we got married. And who would have thought? You know, it's the Lord just leading and guiding because...
But that's the way, that's the way God... I mean, how did you meet your wife?
Yeah, well, so when I first came here, around that time when I first got saved, I have a passion. God's giving me a call.
She was here.
She worked at the coffee house.
Oh, she worked in the coffee house.
Yeah.
So in the bookstore, the coffee house.
Same thing. Yep. And I got saved, and I'm on fire for the Lord. I have a call, and then I see this beautiful girl, and I think, you know what? Same thing. I'm here to serve. I want to focus on you.
I didn't even know that. So I mean, how the Lord knows all
the
these
Lord
things.
knows.
That's cool.
And like you said, like, you know, the Lord, he to those who maybe just concerned and trying to plan their lives and trying to just gotta let the Lord, you gotta surrender. I think we both said that, and you say it all the time, is just surrender. Surrender.
I think the biggest thing is for any young people watching is when the Lord is when if you have a desire to get married, when the Lord shows you, you don't go and tell that person, hey, the Lord showed me because I'm going to marry you. Like, just wait on the Lord. Pray, seek the Lord with your whole heart. When you delight in God, you know, and you seek first the kingdom, everything else.
Well, as you're doing that, let's say I'm going to be your wife. God's already speaking to me to join us together and glue us. And I'm learning a lot, doing this little show because I don't know all those things. So we get to share, what God did in your life, and then what He has for the future. Like I shared this morning, we really don't know, but you got to be open to the Holy Spirit as you're reading, as you're praying, as you're waiting. Then what happens? All of a sudden you go, wow, this thing's burning my heart. The next step. And when you take that next step, it's a bigger step. And with that bigger step comes more responsibility and accountability. And He's preparing you for the future. How old are you?
I'm 31.
31.
I'm 34.
And 34. So you guys are young. You're kind of almost in the middle of your age. You know what I'm saying? The 40s is going to come up different. 50s is going to come up different. 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm in my 70s and it's real different. Everything's different. Things that I do, things that I say, the way I do my life, my wife passed away, and all these things, getting used to being alone, and now following the next step in my life, which is really cool because I'm learning, and I told people, I said, I don't want to talk about my wife. My wife's gone; she's in heaven now. I got to concentrate on my life and my kids and my grandkids, that God's given to me. And it's been so neat just praying for them, like you guys, and praying for the staff here to see the talents and gifts God's given all these guys here, the whole church. And when we do that, God will honor it. God will honor it. Any concluding words you want to share?
The biggest thing is just delight in the Lord in everything that you do. Many times we think that we need to seek out, what we can do for God. And many times we're always trying to figure out, what can I do for God, when all He wants us to do is to know Him and be thankful and to have a personal relationship with Him. He does the work. He opens the doors. He goes before you in everything. Like, we didn't ask for this job. I didn't ask to be a pastor. You didn't ask to be a pastor. There was no striving. It was simply when you just love Jesus, you sit at His feet, He begins to open doors. He begins to use your life, because that's when you humble yourself under the mighty hand of God.
You become a vessel.
That's the only way.
That's all of us are vessels, and it's neat to see that in your life. What do you have to share?
I would say the same thing. I would say surrender is.
No, you can't say the same thing.
Okay, I'll say different. I'll say different. I would say surrender. Because like we talked about when we worked at these jobs, and you in the Marine Corps, and I've seen your photos, and it's amazing. My brother was a Marine as well. But I've seen all my life as well. My dad, law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
There's discipline. There's you learn how to give. You learn how to. I take orders. There's authority, and we learn those things, and we learn to be obedient to the Lord. And the more you surrender to the Lord, the more that He can use you as the vessel that He wants to use you.
You become vessels for the Lord. And I would share with those of you watching today, male, female, young or old, doesn't really matter, that we have one life to live, and it'll soon be past. And the only thing that's going to count is what you do for Christ. Period. That's it. Nothing else. So I would encourage you, to get on your face before the Lord like the prophets did and ask God what He wants in your life. I promise He will show you. Not what you want, but what He wants. Lord bless you and keep you. God bless.